Welcome to Always on the Smallville. In this podcast, we talk about each and every episode of the Young Superman show. We ran from 2001 to 2011 on the WB and the CW. I'm your host, Zach Moore, and we were back with our level 33.1, number 3, our new 52, level 33.1, number 3, reboots. We all love reboots. We're here to talk about some reboots today. We got a couple of topics we're going to be talking about, mostly all the news from our favorite comic company and the corporation that controls it and the choices they make with their multimedia. But I'm Zach Moore. You know me. We got 3 other people with us here on this roundtable. We have not a member of level 33.1, but a fellow podcaster and my best friend, Lance Sasser. What's up, Lance?
What's up?
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. This is it's been a while since I've done one of these. So yeah, thanks for the call.
Absolutely. We have from Always on the Star Wars and one of our longest patrons on level 33.1, Mr. Chris Fuchs.
Hello there.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I had to find, we've been doing this for so long, I had to find something that is like the same every time, and I'm going with that.
Joey says, hey, how's it going? Every time. He says it just like that, too. He's not here tonight, though.
No. Darren has ahoy, ahoy.
Ahoy, ahoy, that's right. Ahoy, that guy. Hey, you know what? Good for him. He's owning that fandom of, and we're going to have another roundtable, hopefully before the year's over, and he can be on that one to talk about our topic, because I know he has some things to say. He couldn't make it here tonight, but we do have, for the first time, a new member of level 33.1, Mr. Isaiah Goodridge. What's up, man?
Hey, man. How are you? Hey, everyone. Yeah, it's dope being here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for your patronage. I hope you've find it worth your time and money. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Already.
All right, so there you go. We've been talking some pregame. So
yeah,
you got to come up with a new intro catchphrase by next time.
I know I was struggling, but I was like, it's fine. It's my first time. It's cool.
Just feel it out, you know. And you don't need a catchphrase. Tell them the Man in Black sent you. That should be your catchphrase. Isaiah.
That's kind of heat. I'm not gonna lie. Wow,
that was kind of badass. I did like that.
It was.
But you know who didn't like it? James Gunn. Anyway, Isaiah, why don't you tell us how you found? I guess how'd you get into fandom? Like, what's your Smallville, Superman, just general nerd culture fandom, and then how you found your way here?
Yeah, man. Okay, so I mean, it's a bit of a long story, so I'll try to keep it on the shorter side. Growing up as a kid, I was really only a Marvel kid, to be honest, because they had the best cartoons, in my opinion.
The Marvel had the best cartoon. Are you serious?
Yeah, we can get into it. I mean, Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Spectacular Spider-Man.
Wait.
Time out.
Yeah.
You're talking about some very recent cartoons here, my friend.
All right, well,
how old are you, sir?
Older, so I'm talking about the stuff that was out when I was a kid. Okay. See, that's the thing. You're already exposing me on the podcast.
Let's let the man talk. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's cool.
But for all the things that go horribly wrong with DC, the one thing we have to hold on to, other than Smallville, of course, is the animation. So I had to respond.
DCEU. Yeah.
But anyway,
for sure.
Please continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No worries. So yeah, I was not really a big DC guy. Then one of the first Superman movies I watched was Superman Returns. And so, I always have a certain nostalgia in my heart for that. But, it was always just like, Superman's just there. And then I was introduced to a show called Arrow on its second season. I was like, oh, this is amazing. This guy is snapping necks. He's shooting arrows into eyes. Like, this is incredible. This is hardcore. And at my uncle's house, he had a DVD box set of a show called Smallville. And on the spine is a certain guy with an S painted on his chest, stretched out at like a scarecrow. I'm like, that guy kind of looks like Superman in a weird way. And my friends were like, yeah, dude, before Arrow came out, like there was a show that ran out for a long time. It was called Smallville. So I checked it out. I fell in love with it. And I watched it, multiple times. This was before Hulu had it, so I had to use, less than scrupulous means to watch all of it. So I binge watched the entire 10 seasons, and I'm like, well, let's try to find a podcast to talk about it, since everyone who had watched it was, a lot older than me. And so yeah, I'm looking through podcasts and I see one called Always One on a Smallville. I'm like, all right, well, let's scroll down to the pilot and see what's going on. And it's this guy named Zach. He seems cool. And then another guy named Lance. I'm like, oh, this is a dope duo. They're gonna go through every episode. Like, wow. And then like Nick showed up in like the third episode, and I'm like, wow, this kind of fell off, huh? Like, where's my guy Lance? No disrespect, Nick. No disrespect. But what made me like
it's like when the fourth person rotates on whose line is it anyway, you're like, oh man, I like the other guy.
I like the other guy. Yeah. Right. Oh. Exactly. But what made me like, okay, this is the podcast for me, is like when Zach was saying, okay, before we go on to the episode, we gotta talk about Arrow season 4. And are they gonna kill Laurel? Like, what's going on with that? And I was like, okay, yes, I'm here. And ever since then, I've been a dedicated listener. And that's kind of how I got into superhero fandom and Smallville and all of that.
Cool, man. So you talk about all those Marvel animations and stuff like that. So I guess you liked all their animated shows, like and then yes. But like as far as like TV shows and stuff, it sounds like it was Arrow first, and then you kind of found Smallville, and I guess you have you watched the other Arrowverse shows and all that? And...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Cool. Do you so what do you like better, Smallville or Arrow?
Arrow had higher highs, but Smallville was more consistent, in my opinion.
That might be right. That might be right. I mean, I believe I said on microphone once that Arrow was better than Smallville ever was, but that was like in the second season.
Very political answer on a Smallville podcast.
Hey, listen, I'm trying to ride that tightrope. They have to invite me back. That's the thing, Chris.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, no, I'm glad you found the podcast. I'm glad you enjoyed our tangents on the Arrowverse. When we were all up to speed on them at the time, and it was easy to talk about. Now it's like, hey, you still watching that? Well, not really. Nobody has. We have very fragmented. Other than Lance, so I think he's watched almost everything of everything.
Pretty much. I actually just started Stargirl, and I love it. So,
have you watched all of Batwoman?
No, I've only seen the first season so far.
Okay.
How have you liked it?
It's all right.
All right.
Well, you have a high standard for the Arrowverse, so.
I kind of feel bad for Batwoman. I feel like they were subject to crisis and then recasting all that, so like their story suffered.
Yeah, they certainly weren't able to. They had a lot of things outside of their control affect their show. So it's kind of, and then it's like before you knew it, it was over. I'm like, well, we tried that. Remember when Superman and Lois and Batwoman were gonna have a crossover?
Yeah,
that would really messed up the nonsense they're trying to pull on us now about it's a different Earth.
Yeah, well, also
Diggle looks the same on every Earth.
Same thing with Naomi, was a show that I really wanted to watch, or I really wanted to like, but it was just like this is not very good, unfortunately.
I was about to say, Lance, like, come on, that
I wanted to like Naomi a lot, but they didn't give me anything to love.
So what about the Marvel shows, Isaiah? You watching any of those?
Oh yeah, I've watched all of them, to be honest. Even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Cough cough.
Well, how long did you watch all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh, not at all. I'll be straight up. I fell off probably like midway of the second season.
That's good. That's fine.
Because I mean, remember when I was younger, you like to joke of like, they're referencing the Avengers, like, wow. But no, as a kid, I'm like, no, they're referencing the Avengers. Wow, like
Lady Sif showed up.
Exactly, like that's so cool. But pretty much when it was like revealed Ward was like a Hydra agent, and then like Fitz and Simmons were like dead but not dead. Spoiler alert. It was just like, okay, that's whatever.
And they got married, right? They lived happily ever after, Fitz and Simmons.
Did they? I have no idea.
Which one was Keira Knightley? Which one was Fitz? Which one was her?
That's a great question. I wish I could tell you.
Fitz and/or Simmons. They were pretty much
Simmons, right.
Never knew which one was which.
I just remember hopping on again when Ghost Rider showed up because that was dope, and then I fell right off again.
Ghost Rider. She got Nicolas Cage for that.
Yeah.
Think he's going to show up in Secret Wars? Nicolas Cage.
Well, supposedly,
who's
like,
Nicolas Cage? Where is Nicolas Cage going to show up first? He's going to show up as Superman in some multiverse nonsense, or he's going to show up as Ghost Rider in Secret Wars.
I don't even think he's going to show up on the new National Treasure TV show.
That's just that's strange to me. Why would you make a National Treasure TV show and not have Nicolas Cage?
They got the other guy. They got like the FBI guy, and they have Riley.
Really?
So it's in continuity with the movies? Okay, that's even worse that he's not in it. I was going to say, what's going to be next? An Equalizer show without Denzel? I mean, what? I don't
know that he's not in it. It's just that he hasn't. They haven't said he's going to be in it, and all these other people are confirmed.
If Tim Allen can be in the Santa Claus TV show, then you can get Nicolas Cage to be in National Treasure. I guess Disney owns National Treasure, I guess.
Yeah, it's a Disney Plus show.
Well, they own everything. But I'll tell you one thing they don't own, my friends. It's DC Comics. And boy, do I wish they did. Because, we all know the news.
Yeah.
James Gunn talks a lot on Twitter. I think everyone knew that already. But James Gunn talks a lot on Twitter. And people are asking some questions. And I think through a series of his questions and answers on Twitter for most of this news broke, there have been a lot of rumors about what's been going on with DC on film and multimedia. And because right after, literally I think a week or 2 weeks after Black Adam came out, James Gunn and Peter Safran were handed the keys to DC Studios, I believe as it's being called now. But we'll see if that name sticks. Because remember there was a 2-month period where DCEU was called the Worlds of DC. Remember that? I do.
Nope.
But it did not stick. So they're in charge, and people are like, what does it mean? Are they going to do a soft reboot? Obviously, they have these, multiple movies coming out still that are in the DCEU world. You got Shazam 2, you got Aquaman 2, you got Blue Beetle, and you got The Flash. And all those are coming out, and they're connected to the DCEU. And people are like, well, I guess they're just going to soft reboot and they'll maybe use Flashpoint or something in the Flash to explain all the differences. I'm like, okay, sure. But now, not only is so in the span of a week, it was Patty Jenkins is off Wonder Woman 3. Henry Cavill's out of Superman. They're rebooting everything. And here we are. And Henry Cavill had to come out and make a statement. I felt so bad. I feel really bad for Henry Cavill in all this because he had to make a social media post saying, hey guys, unfortunately, after being told by the studio it was okay to announce that I'm coming back as Superman, that was before they hired James Gunn and Peter Safran, and I am not coming back as Superman, but thank you for your time. And I think he made a good point. He's like, look, Superman's bigger than any character. Let's stand for, onward and upward. And I'm like, good for you. Everything he says and does in the public eye, I think great. This is a great ambassador for Superman. I think he was so excited about coming back, and it's so sad to see those interviews and things like that. Because he was like, I'm excited to come back and be a hopeful Superman, and blah 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 blah, all the stuff he was saying. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm in. Black Adam was a movie that happened, but I was super excited about where it might go because it's cool. We'll see Superman again, and we will see Superman again, but he's not going to be Henry Cavill. He's going to be a young Superman, which, I don't know about y'all, but I think that's a very untapped potential story possibilities there. Haven't seen that before. So, Chris, what are your thoughts, man? You love Man of Steel. And here we are.
Listen, I am not, I want to put this out there. I enjoyed Snyderverse movies. I am not a Snyderverse protector or fan or defender. There's things I like, things I didn't like. One of the things that I really, really liked was Henry Cavill as Superman. I wish he got more of it. I think he's what keeps me liking it so much and rewatching and stuff, even when they do things to his character that I'm not a fan of. But I'm disappointed. I'm with you. I feel bad for him. I feel bad that we're not get to see more of him. And with how much you get to see everything you want when you see Marvel movies come out and they're just exploring every avenue and you get to see all these different things. It doesn't make sense to me why we can have multiple Batmans at one time, not even in the same universe, but we can't have multiple Supermans. Come on. It's not fair.
Well, that's odd that it's going to be real ugly when James Gunn does not reboot Peacemaker or that character his wife plays in all the movies and TV shows.
Hardcore.
But we have to get rid of everything else, that's going to be awkward. And yeah, I mean, we had Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton both are going to be Batman in the Flash. Robin Pattinson has a movie. Does he still get a sequel? Joker exists,
Wait, didn't they say, isn't there speculation they're not continuing the Pattinson?
There's been speculation about that for a while, but I would think it's because Matt Reeves, they're kind of treating him like Chris Nolan, where it's like, okay, just do whatever you want in your own universe, which again, it's fine. But then why don't you do that for everything? It's like, why don't you let The Rock make his sequel with Henry Cavill? Like, why do you have to stop all this other stuff and continue certain things? And I think the Batman is fantastic. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying, got to be consistent across the board. That's when you have fandom wars.
If Peacemaker stays, then technically you got to keep all of the JLA guys in there, right?
That's right. Got to keep your boy Ezra Miller.
Oh, man.
Lance, are we still going to see The Flash?
I don't know. Are we?
Well, thanks to our friends on Patreon.
I'm coming too.
Patreon will be paying for our tickets to see The Flash.
Okay.
Because they want to hear us talk about it. They've heard us argue about this for years now. And I have, I'm sorry. The main thing, whatever about all this, I'm just incensed that we were apparently going to get a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton, and they canceled that too. So
no, literally the exact same thing that you are championing. Like, how does that not happen?
Yeah, I mean, people should listen to me, I think. Well, Lance, we'll save you for a second, but Isaiah.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on this? I don't even know. Like, no one else. You're new, man. So let us know, where do you stand on all this? What do you like, the DCEU, or where do you stand?
I think I'm gonna steal Chris's take in terms of I'm not a Snyder fanboy in terms of he's the god of cinema. I'm not like that. But I do respect some of his choices. I like some of the directions he went in. And one of the positive things of the Snyderverse as a whole, I think, is the cast overall. I think all of the movies, except for a few exceptions like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex, other than that, there have been stellar cast.
Is there anyone else that might come to mind who might be not as stellar casting?
maybe a couple more for sure. Yeah. Other than that,
you just like cast. His take on the character, or just him as a human being?
That's
because then we could talk Smallville.
Well, listen. Did Allison Mack ever? I was going to say. So Isaiah, what are your thoughts on the?
We probably shouldn't go down this road.
I think both of them are equally.
I think Allison Mack is a better actor than Ezra Miller.
Oh, with 100%.
Agreed.
But yeah, and I'm kind of in this camp of a lot of people where I think they could have just done a soft reboot. I don't think you need to do a hard reboot of everybody, because I think that's really reductive, at least in my opinion, of where other directors and where other heads of DC like James Gunn and Peter Safran could have taken the story post even the continuity of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't think anything about Henry Cavill's Superman, about where he is at the end of that movie, you couldn't tell a new story. So like one of the like reports was that Brainiac was supposed to be in Man of Steel 2. I don't think that was stopped by the ending of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't think Wonder Woman 3 was affected by it. Shazam 2, Aquaman 2. Like, you still had the opportunity to tell a new story, and you had a whole other movie coming out that in continuity allows for a soft reboot to get rid of any other like luggage of stories or even other cast members that you don't want. So I understand it in terms of, a lot of creatives don't want to work on the like back end or on the laurels of other creatives. And if you want to just tell a completely original story to you, then as painful as it is, then okay, yeah, I guess I understand why the reboot. But yeah, just internally, I'm like, you could have just done a soft reboot. Keep the people you wanted to, get rid of the people you didn't like. But 'tis life, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought that was the whole purpose of The Flash.
Exactly, yeah.
They've established that this is all the same multiverse now with Crisis on TV. They've connected the movies. You can have a planet where this is going on and a planet where this is going on. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ideally, I just would have canceled the Flash. But apparently, it's so good. We got to keep it. I'm like, how good is this movie? If you're gonna figure, but like, if you had to keep it, all the stuff happens. Then at the end, he's Grant Gustin, right? Then I'm like, okay, then we can move forward. Like, I mean,
he looks so different. Yeah.
Or no one says that. It's just the status quo because apparently Michael Keaton was going to be Batman at the end of the fight. And probably he still is. We'll all find out together when we last. So
wait for if this movie. Let's just say this movie's good. Let's say it's
going to make $1 billion. Sorry, it's over.
Yeah, they're not going to just end it.
You think so? Well, because people really like Zack Snyder's Justice League, but they said nope, no more of that either.
But that didn't make them any of that kind of money because it came out on HBO Max and it.
Well, Wonder Woman 1984 also didn't make money, and it came out on HBO Max, and they were going to make Wonder Woman 3 up until like last week, and that movie was horrible. Of all the things being canceled, I'm like, yeah, thank you for canceling Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman 3. Oh, I swear to God, if they would have brought back Steve Trevor again.
So then wait. So all right. So then at the end of 84, do you believe that? So that story treatment that came out of like Steve comes back and it's like a war between the not demons.
I think a lot of that stuff we're seeing now is BS.
Okay, I was about to say. Because like I didn't.
Although if you told me the plot of Wonder Woman 1984, but before I saw it, I'm like, well, that's BS. No, it's ridiculous. So, okay, cool. So I think we're all like, okay, we could have kept some things, we could have got rid of some things. You had a lot of missed opportunities, but you're choosing through it all the way. And I think we never rebooted a multi or a connected universe like this in the midst of it before, so it's complicated, right? Usually these things happen after the franchise has been over for years. Or if you're Spider-Man, like 3 or 4 years, they usually reboot it. So Lance, what's your thoughts, man?
Well, where do you want me to start?
Well, you were right, I guess, is the first thing we should tell you, right?
Okay, cool. I appreciate that.
Shut it down.
I mean, I guess I'll start here. They should have done what they're doing a long time ago. And I think it would have saved a lot of people a lot of time, energy, anguish, all the above, right? If they would have, when they saw kind of like, because there's been multiple times where this company have seen the writing on the wall and they just ignored it and continued to make bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. So if they would have just, after the first Justice League came out, right? If they would have just been like, you know what, this is not going as we planned, right? Like regardless of, where you side with, whose version, who you're a fan of, or whatever. Up until that point, with the things that had come out, had not gone the way that anybody had really wanted it to go. And so that should have been the time for them to be like, let's do something. And as to Isaiah and Chris's point, like that's when they should have done the soft reboot. That is when they should have been like, all right, let's figure this out on the fly, and let's try to salvage what we have and move forward, in a best position as we can. But they didn't do that. They just kind of doubled down and they just continued to make the wrong decision and make the wrong chess move every single time. And it has led us to this point. And, this is why I do not have any faith in this company to do the right thing with any of these things. Like, I don't care about like any of the current things that are coming out. I don't care that James Gunn is the head of this company. I don't care about what's coming out. Aquaman 2, don't care. Shazam 2, don't care. Blue Beetle, don't care. Like, I don't care about any of these things because it doesn't matter, because like they're going to come out and it's going to be like, all right. And then they're going to do something new. And then there's a high probability that the stuff that's coming out like with this new regime is also not going to be great, because I have no reason to trust them. And based on James Gunn's other work and the things that he's, said, done, all that type of stuff, that way he views characters. And if you look at some of his other work, like, I'm supposed to trust that guy with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman? Are you serious? So, like, and again, this is the things that I've been saying for forever. And and a lot of the times, like, people just kind of look at me kind of sideways when I like come down hard on DC, because I'm not like, because most of the time my reaction is like, oh man, did you see what's happening? Oh man, that's kind of crazy. I hope they can get out of this. My reaction every time has been like, these guys suck. And like all these things suck. They need to fix this. And the best way to do it is to shut everything down, come up with an actual concrete plan and move forward. And the fact that they're doing it now in the worst fashion imaginable. They just continually look like they have egg on their face all of the time. It's like
it really is every single
time. I sent Zach this GIF the other day of Tom from Tom and Jerry stepping on rakes like repeatedly, because that's what DC does. That's exactly what they do. And like, I don't know any other way to explain it better than that. And until I see. Now, granted, like I don't care about anything that's coming out, but as a DC fan, like I'm a fan of these characters and I'm a fan of these stories. I have been all my life, but I'm not going to sit here and just accept crap and continue to accept the crap that they're giving me without being critical of said crap. And so moving forward from James Gunn, I guess, looking on a more positive side, I guess, I need to see their plan. I need to see that plan actually get into development and executed. And then I need to see success from that plan before I give any praise or any sort of positive vibes to what they're doing. Because until I see success from what they're doing, like actual tangible success and results, then it's still going to be a failure, just as big as a failure as this previous regime was.
You guys remember that Domino's pizza campaign that came out like a few years ago, where they came out and be like, listen, we did testing, everything. We realized we sucked. So we revamped everything. We put new stuff into it.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So like that's what DC needs to do. And I'm realizing, if you listen to my Star Wars podcast, I keep making pizza analogies for everything. But that's what they need to do. They need to come out and say, listen, okay, we understand. We had trouble. This didn't work. Let's take these characters that everyone loves and give you what you deserve and give you stories. And I might buy into it a little more. Speaking of the Batman, I thought that was a fantastic movie. I loved it. But truth be told, I didn't watch it till last week. That was the first time I ever watched it.
Really?
Yeah. And it wasn't that I didn't want to. It wasn't that I just wasn't driven to. I didn't have any faith in it, I guess. Here's a new Batman, a new story that's coming out. And then it turns out I loved it. I thought it was great. But like Lance was saying, it's going to take a while before I'm interested or trust anything that they're putting out.
And you know what? And the thing is, that's fair, right? Like it's fair that, that is your reaction to that. And, to your point earlier, talking about like how, there's been multiple this and multiple that. And like, why can't we, as DC, like have the things that Marvel has? Well, that's the elephant in the room, right? Like they see they're like, and that's the thing that they don't understand either. They don't understand why they're successful, and they don't understand how they've been able to maintain that level of success. They're still chasing that. And so until they figure it out, and it's actually kind of not that hard, but until they figure it out, they're going to be in the place that they are. The answer isn't let's just do this. Let's have this one director come in and do his take on this character, and that's not why Marvel is successful, right? And then,
well, it's quite the opposite of over Marvel.
I know, and the thing is that runs contrary to a lot of conventional thinking and conventional Hollywood thinking, and which is another reason why WB and DC is so behind in everything, because they haven't evolved. You can say that about a lot of people in the Hollywood industry. They haven't evolved, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But they just don't get it. And it's very clear that what they want is Marvel level success. And they want that, which is why they chose somebody like James Gunn, and which is why they're going this direction. That's fine. But the thing is, that was also very true of the previous regime also. And they tried
exactly.
And they tried it. They didn't understand what their success was either. And so they're trying in these different ways, and they still don't get it. They haven't figured it out yet. So, we're still gonna be kind of having this conversation several years from now, unfortunately.
Well, Isaiah, so you saw Superman Returns.
I did.
It was one of your first Superman movies that you saw. Did you like it?
Remember, I was a kid, so it was pretty much just like watching the bullet bounce off it like his open eye.
That's great.
The plane scene, him like lifting the island, stuff like that is like, oh my God, stuff like that was insane to me. But Man of Steel was the first movie that I saw where it was like, and that's why I really appreciate what Zack Snyder was doing, because I think he really put an emphasis on showing like the power and dare I say like godhood of what Superman is in comparison to like regular men. And while I think there are a lot of times when he went completely on the like extreme end of the spectrum with storytelling, I still appreciate the like. So one of the things that I heard, and I only heard it and I don't remember where, so if it sounds stupid, it's not my fault. But like one of the
good disclaimer there, please continue.
Yeah. So one of the differences between DC and Marvel that I heard was like Marvel focuses on humanity reaching for godhood, and DC focuses on gods struggling with humanity. And I think that Zack Snyder does a pretty good job with that theme, with those themes, but it's just how he tells those stories is where I have the problem with it. But I'd want to ask you, Lance, like personally, so like when you're talking about, stuff like Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, Blue Beetle, like you're not excited for them. Does that come from like your lack of faith in the quality of those movies, or just the fact that they're not leading up to a greater connected universe?
A little of both.
Okay.
A little of both, because I like the first Aquaman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the first Shazam, but we have these sequels, but we also understand that they are part of something, right? And so when we don't get the part of something that they are part of in conjunction with their individual thing, it renders them meaningless. And so it's like, well, that's great that you have it, but the next logical question, especially in this new age of things, is, well, what's coming next? And we know the answer to what's coming next, and it's nothing. And so like there's a void there. And the other part of it is just like, well, I mean, I like the first ones. I kind of also, based on the things that are going around with the company, I don't trust them with the sequel, especially after Wonder Woman 84. Like I got burned like on Christmas.
Okay.
Like, it's the wrong time to have that happen to you.
I guess I understand that rationale. I guess there are a lot of other people I hear who echo that sentiment of like, oh, I'm not watching these. What's the point of these? And I guess I'll just say, well, I would want to recognize the nuance of like appreciating movies also just for the movies that they are, not necessarily only hinging on it connecting to a greater universe.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Not saying that you're doing that, but
yeah, I see what you mean. But the thing is, I've seen that argument too. Like, people's like, and especially like when people who are on the other side of the spectrum who hate extended and continuous universes, and they just like want everything to be standalone. But you can do that, but at the same time, we as a society and as a culture we have evolved past this, singular things, because we get attached to the things that we're into, and especially in this particular characters and stories, and we want to see them extend either forwards in time or backwards in time. So we want to see a continuation of it. And so one and done things are not in vogue. They're not the norm, and they're not the future of storytelling anymore. And so we have evolved to wanting to see more. And so when we don't get it, that causes a little bit of an issue. We can understand it and we can be like, okay, that's fine. But if you have a sequel, right, and it just kind of stops and there's nothing else, and that there should be more, right? Like you have, like, for example, with Shazam, you have Shazam 2 Fury of the Gods. Cool. The next logical question is, well, doesn't he fight Black Adam?
Like, when does he fight Black Adam?
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, but then also in the previous movie, there was mention of like the Justice League and all this other stuff. Where are they? And then it's like, oh, and it's like, so again, these are the questions, right? And these are the things that do it. And it's not just superhero movies that do this. Everything is building a universe now, right?
Well, especially Lance, like these came from comic books, which are themselves interconnected.
Yes, yeah,
and these sequels came from an interconnected universe.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between like the Batman 2, if it happens, which I think we all hope it does, and then like Shazam 2, where it's like, well, you were from a bigger universe and you're supposed to lead to a bigger universe, but now it's over. So a friend messaged me and said like, they might as well just release all these on YouTube. I was like, yeah, they might as well.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think like this is stolen from somebody else, but like DC now stands for direct to cable, because that's exactly where it's coming from, right? But that's what I'm talking about. Like if these things are a part of something and we don't get the part of something that they're part of, it's just like, what are we doing here? Especially when the history
okay.
and what they've come from, like their actual, like they were birthed into extended universes, right? And that's the whole another part of the trick with the Marvel thing. It's more subtle than people realize as far as like the interconnectivity of everything, because a lot of times in those movies the connective tissue of stuff is very, very minute, or it happens in a post-credit scene. It's not like the whole movie is about that. I like a lot of people who are super extreme and super want to be detractors of Marvel and their brand. I think that like the whole thing is just a CGI cameo fest, but that's not like they reduce it to that, but that's not the case at all. So a lot of those things are more subtly done and more smallly done than usual. So but in this case, on the flip side with DC, it's just like, well, these comes from something and it's part of something. So we need that other part, right? We need the missing piece.
And if what DC in particular, what they did is they had Superman, they had Man of Steel, and then you get Batman v Superman, where they throw in all these other characters. So now everything that comes out of it was started in this thrown together part that really didn't have too much to do with the story of that movie. You got Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Flash, and like those videos,
and Cyborg,
yeah, and Cyborg. Sorry,
right? Like he had all these people,
but he didn't get his own movie after, so that's why I haven't. That's why he wasn't.
Well, we know why he didn't get his own movie.
Yeah, but that's all. So everything that comes from it is spawned from that. And even when you know that these movies take place in this extended universe, you want to see. You kind of think to see it, especially in Shazam. You had Superman at the end of it, but it wasn't Superman. And now you get these part twos. Okay, so it's going to grow this universe. You're not just growing the universe of the movie that you're seeing. It's growing in this whole other universe. So it's like, what's going to bring into it? And this is an argument for 10 years ago or so, but DC, what they did wrong is they try to have everybody there first and then their solo pieces. Yeah. Whereas what Marvel did great is you had solo pieces where you fell in love with these characters and then they brought them together and tied them together nicely and did a good job of it rather than piecemeal.
Yeah. The mistake was like just taking for granted the fact, well, everybody knows Batman and Superman, right?
That was the mistake, because and they
not these versions, right?
Exactly. They assume that, right? And when they make the assumption of like, well, everybody knows these characters and they throw them all in there, that only works if you actually know these characters. Like if those characters that we saw on screen were recognizable, like they were the ones that we actually recognize, then they wouldn't have had a problem. But there was too much change being brought to them, and there was too much extra stuff brought to them that made them not exactly who they were. And so that's what hindered their progress. You mentioned, the difference between the two companies, how Marvel focuses on humans struggling with godhood, and then the opposite for DC. That is true in some cases. And then you mentioned how Zack Snyder leaned in heavily onto the DC side. I think what he heavily leaned into the godhood aspect, and you can see that in how he shot, how everybody was framed, how everybody was shot, and all those types of things. That much is true. But I think what was missing is more of the humanity of it.
Humanity, yeah.
Because he was looking at it from I guess an old school gods mentality, right? How the gods were apart from humanity, and they were kind of harsh, and they were kind of cold, and they were kind of devoid of humanity, right? Like it was kind of apart from them. I think that's and you if you look at his characters in his saga, they're kind of like that, right? And then granted, the whole point of it is they have to learn humanity. I got that, all right, Snyder fans. I know that's what he was going for, okay? But if you present them,
the Martha scene wasn't just them saying their mother's name. There was more to that.
That was part of it was that. But again, if you present them that way, it's going to make it harder for people who know the characters to get on board, right? And you can't blame people who did not get on board for that.
The other, to your point too, about how we don't know these characters yet. I think everyone knows Batman, Superman. What is one of the biggest arguments that DC fans or superhero fans in particular have? Like, who's your favorite Superman? Who's your favorite Batman? You can't just bring in someone new and play off of the strengths that all these other guys did. But if you have a conversation, okay, who's your favorite live action Iron Man? Who's your favorite live action Captain America? Like, these guys set the standard for them. And that's why it's easy to tell stories about them and bring that tangentially tie in, because it's only one world. but you can't bring in a Batman and say everyone's going to love Batman because we know we've seen Batman before. We don't know if Ben Affleck's good. In fact, a lot of people thought he wouldn't be going into it.
Yeah.
So that's
which always surprised me, though. I thought he was perfect for Batman. I just like, I don't understand why people are so mad about it. Like Daredevil was like, yeah, I would love to see that guy's Batman. And then people fan cast him for years. Like after the 90s movies, after they were over, people were like, oh, they should do a new Batman with Ben Affleck. I'm like, yeah, they should. Like they absolutely should. And they finally got it. But that's why Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Shazam, Captain Marvel, all very successful, because what do you compare those to, right? Wonder Woman and Shazam had TV shows years ago, right? Different decades have passed. It's a different medium. You kind of have a clean slate to do whatever you want with those characters and present them to the world, right? Aquaman, no live action Aquaman on the big screen. You know, obviously he appeared on Smallville and things, and he's had this whole reinvention and, you know, of being a joke to being a badass now, and that so they weren't fighting against the legacy of other versions, right? But you have Batman, you have the Dark Knight trilogy just ended. And then it's like, well, here's a new version of Batman. I think that's where a lot of the backlash came from, because people loved Christian Bale so much. And I would have been right there with you if the Dark Knight Rises hadn't existed and just completely ended the story and blown it all up.
The other part of that is this is another reason why they should have built up their characters first, right? Because we just sort of started to build up Superman, but the very next time that we see him, instead of having a movie of his own, right, a sequel of his own, he is pitted against Batman. And if you ask the common person who their favorite character is between the two, it's going to be Batman. Regardless of the story that they were trying to tell, they were going to be on Batman's side, wanting to kick Superman's ass.
I was on Batman's side. That movie was like, yeah, Superman's an asshole. Like, Batman should kill him. I mean, I agree.
How are we supposed to get behind the greatest comic book character who ever lived if that is the lens that we are viewing this from, right?
Yeah, they didn't do a great job fleshing out his motivation, at least to me, for why you'd want to be against Batman.
The Batman angle works. The Superman angle does not.
Does not. Yeah. Part of the argument I hear is, oh, you know, he's against Batman terrorizing and, you know, killing people. I'm like, what are you talking about? Superman just killed his enemy. Like, and
one guy.
And nothing about the movie like showed me that, oh, Superman doesn't want that as, or doesn't recognize that as a method that one should take, or why he feels Batman is too extreme. Like it was just too much.
I'm cool with them having opposing viewpoints and arguing or not getting along and stuff, but I don't want them against each other. They're on the same side.
This is the people like the Dark Knight Returns, and they're like, "Oh, let's have that fight. That would be cool." Like, it would be cool if this was like number 9 in your cycle of movies, right? I mean, you gotta earn it. That's what we're always talking about, Lance. You gotta earn this stuff.
You do have to earn it. The other thing is, like, you have to also remember that, like, Dark Knight Returns in a lot of ways is a satire. So some people who read that, they just read that as like, "Oh man, this is this badass Batman versus Superman," but they don't. There's more to the book than that. Like, that's like the last thing. It's not what that book is talking about.
Well, yeah, and also Superman is a government agent. Well, that's the whole point. Like, people totally miss the point. Like, you cannot. The Henry Cavill Superman is not that. Like the Christopher Reeve Superman, be like, "Oh, yes, Mr. President, I'm going to go in and clean up Gotham City," right? And that's. I mean, it came out late '80s. It's right after the Reeve movies. He's even drawn like Frank Miller writing that is like, this is the Reagan-esque. I mean, President Reagan is like the president, right? It's like, this is the Ronald Reagan Superman is coming in here and cleaning up the streets, so to speak, with beating up Batman. And that's. I mean, but at the time, that was the deconstruction of the characters, right? That's what the people love that word these days, deconstruction. Yeah. But like Lance has said,
expectations.
You can't have deconstruction without construction. And I think you said it best when you said that, Lance. So
they didn't even earn him dying against Doomsday.
No,
like, none of that.
Again, like I listened to something else the other day. Like, it's like they had Doomsday in a movie and nobody cared.
They shouldn't have put him in the trailer. I don't know if that would affect. I'm not. I know the final effect of the final product. But I'm saying, I don't know if he would have been a surprise. Maybe I don't know if that would have played differently, because obviously that's a one-time thing. Maybe. But just sitting there knowing for like weeks, you're like, oh, Doomsday's in this? When clearly it seemed to have supposed to have been some sort of reveal in the film. Yeah. I just don't know how that would have played differently, because trailers affect people. When your mindset affects you when you go in and you're sitting there waiting for that to happen.
Yes.
And then, so I think through our conversation here, I think we've determined, not that we needed to investigate it, but BVS was the problem. That's where the problem started, right? Everyone wants to, like, where did the problems start? Killing off Superman in a second movie. I do give them credit, I guess. Like they did. I mean, if you're gonna bring in Doomsday, I guess you should kill Superman, because then it's like, why did you bring in Doomsday if you're gonna kill him? But you shouldn't have brought in Doomsday. That's the problem. And then the 1-2 punch that I said before was the Suicide Squad is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I know David Ayers, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, fine, sure. It came out, and I think the 1-2 punch really crippled them. And then Wonder Woman came out, and that was great.
And there was, for a second there was some reinvigoration. It's like, okay, like let's do something here. And then it just all went away right after that.
Well, Justice League.
Well, yeah. It's there's another 1-2 punch, right? Justice League comes out, and then shortly right after that is Crisis on Earth X, and it's like, and people was like, are you seriously telling me that on the CW they did a better Justice League movie than a big budget like Hollywood like production? Get out of here.
Well, that episode of The Flash and Supergirl was better than.
Did they even have Superman in that?
No. That's Christ on Earth. Although he should have been.
They did it. He should have, but they did a better job without even having him in it.
Well, that's why the Arrowverse is the MCU. Hey, you don't have access to all your most popular, best characters, so you have to tell good stories and win people over with the Green Arrow or the Black Canaries or whoever else, right? The Flash, I think, is very. I mean, not just because of the TV show. People just know the Flash. Like everybody knows, like, the guy that runs fast. Yeah, he's the Flash, right? So I mean, they had that going. The Flash was their Hulk, I guess, right? If the MCU had the Hulk, is like the
probably their. I would say they're Captain America.
I think more people know the Hulk than Captain America because he had the TV show.
But they didn't do anything with the Hulk.
But yeah, I see what Chris is saying as far as his function within.
Oh, well, he was Superman and Green Arrow was Batman.
Yeah, that's
until they got access to those characters, and then they just. I mean, Superman should have been the fewer or something, like the post credit scene of Christ on Earth X was like Tyler Hoechlin being like, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah,
but we'll never see that now, unfortunately. So why was Oliver Queen the few? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I love Earth X. I'm just saying that didn't make any sense. Why is he in charge of the world?
There you
go. Yes, that's right. So yeah, there you go. Well, I guess it's funny. We're gonna have the same conversations forever. I'm sure we've all said these same things forever. But so Isaiah, of all these
until we get something good,
that's right, because Marvel, you're sitting there like, yeah, some of the Thor sequels suck, but I can't wait for the next big Spider-Man thing, right? I mean, that's where your conversation goes. With DC, it's like you're like, well, if only they could have. Oh man, this was good, but then they messed it up, and I wish. Yeah, this is our entire life here within the last few years. But so of all these canceled projects, Isaiah, which one are you the most disappointed about?
Oh, definitely Man of Steel 2. Like, when I tell you, like, Henry is my Superman, to be honest. I recognize it's a bit of blasphemy, especially with these cohorts here. With Christopher Reeve.
You're younger than us, so that's
fair enough. Yeah, but it's
I'm sure people would say blasphemy when we say if we said Tom Welling was ours.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'd say that's blasphemy because he hasn't worn a Superman costume.
Yeah, so. You know what I mean.
and I remember
Dr. Virgil Swan is my Superman.
When I watched the finale, I was so hyped because I was like, "Oh, it's a Superman return suit! Wow, they connected."
Did you think he was going to wear it, Isaiah?
Not at all. I didn't know it was like a rule of like no flights, no tights. So I'm like, it's 10 seasons. Of course, he's going to wear the suit at the end.
Of course.
Well, who would pour in 10 years of their life and not wear the suit?
Us.
How does that happen?
Us. We would pour 10 years of our lives and wait there.
And then give up.
Check the clock every 20 minutes of the finale.
The things that actually happened. We did do that.
Like, there's still time. No more time.
Oh man!
But Lex came back.
So
didn't come back for Crisis though.
Yes, that's right. And okay, so I know that you've come around on it, Zach. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm still very disappointed at the end of at Crisis.
Oh, I haven't come around. I've liked it from the start for Crisis.
Oh, wow, definitely misremembering it. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just after all that, after the pain, the loss, the maturity, the growth, all that, for him to give it up and be with his family, I will admit it is very much in line with the story of Tom Welling's Superman. But
there you go.
At a certain point, it's just like, yo, what was all the development for? If it's only like, maybe 10, maybe 20 years. of Superman, like that's it. And then
that 10 years, I'll take 10 years of Superman. You see how long these other people are being superheroes?
Do we want to get into this?
How long was Christian Bale Batman, Isaiah? Tell me how long Christian Bale was Batman. A year and a half?
3 months.
I was gonna say like 6 months.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
I am 100% okay with it because, again, like you said, time has passed. The comics fill that gap in, the Smallville comics, and feels very in line for what he would do for his life. But we all know he's going to outlive a normal human lifestyle, and we've seen what happens to Superman in Kingdom Come, etc. So I very much like him being a human and giving up, and then I always assume he would come back eventually. He would give up the blue, take the blue ring off or whatever he's doing to get his powers back and be Superman. I would take that every single day of the week rather than Lois Lane dies and he turns evil.
Oh, well, 100%. And I think maybe if they had explicitly said, maybe I'm just an ignorant watcher, but maybe if they had more explicitly stated that it was like, oh, a temporary thing, I'm just wearing like a bracelet or wearing the blue ring and I take it off as needed, then it's like, okay, I can stomach that more.
Vagueness is the name of the game there. They're like, let's keep it all very vague.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know the president was in town. How many times have you explained to people that, I'm not singling out anyone here. I'm just saying, like, people are like, well, he works with the president. Why would he? I'm like, okay, when someone's not the president anymore,
they're still the president.
You still refer to him as the president. So, like, and he's like, I don't know the president was, because he just put his best friend president in jail for life or something. That's my headcanon. And then I'm like, good. Lex is my ultimate opponent. That's what Dr. Fate told me. Now I'm going to start a family. All right, there, done. And that's like 10 years. He was Superman from 2011 to 2019-ish, 2010, 20. Who knows? Also, maybe that was further in the future. Because remember, Earth 99 is way in the future. Because the monitor's like, Earth 99 is in the future. That's why, Bruce Wayne is, old man Batman Beyond Bruce or Kingdom Come Bruce.
They found old Oliver too.
That's right. That didn't make any sense.
There y'all.
That was pretty badass though that Batman killed Superman on Earth 99 though. I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's 99%, 1% chance. You have to take it as an absolute certainty. They turned Kevin Conroy into Ben Affleck, and
they're kind of doing it again. As his last thing that he's doing is being evil Batman and just in Suicide Squad kill the Justice League. That's another idea. DC. It's like, we don't want a game where we're killing the Justice League. We want a game where we are the Justice League. What is wrong with y'all? Like, it makes no sense.
Justice League Heroes on the PS2.
Is that game still coming out?
No, Lance. I thought Kevin Conroy, he was Batman in Gotham Knights.
Mm-mm.
And that the voice?
It's a different voice in Gotham Knights.
Oh,
his last appearance is in the Suicide Squad.
Oh no,
Rockstar.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, I don't mind that. I don't mind that ending for Smallville. I found it a much more satisfying ending than the finale. I like how he had twin girls, and that's cute, and that's like his thing. And because I'm of the mind, like I like how when Lois and Clark did it, Smallville implied it. Can't have kids as a Kryptonian. He has to be human, so he has to choose and I don't know, it adds, and then or adopt kids, right? As they've done in the comics, they've done that. He has Jonathan Kent is a biological kid in the comics now. I don't know, they're different interpretations of can or can't he have kids.
Supergirl did a good thing too, a good idea too, with they had to go to Krypton to have the baby.
Oh yeah, and Superman left Earth.
Yes,
and wasn't around, but it was okay because the Justice League and Supergirl were there. Same thing on Smallville. He knows Supergirl is there and all those other people, and it's fine. Look, we know how many times in Smallville did he lose his powers and get it back? So if there was a crisis, he just goes into the fortress and Jor-El has a chamber or something. What's that?
You have a tally board for lost powers?
I do.
Yeah.
And it's in double digits, and we're not done with the show yet.
Got it.
But I assume he'd be wearing a gold kryptonite something, and that would have ended it's whatever happened to Man of Tomorrow ending. He's even wearing the red flannel and stuff right at the end. So I should have a mustache. That would really... People have been so pissed. People have been so mad. I remember having got arguments. You've all heard this before, but it's like I remember I was getting arguments with people before Crisis came out. They're like, "He's wearing work gloves. That means he gave up his powers. This sucks." And I was like, he used to wear work gloves on Smallville. Let me post a picture from season 1 of Smallville with him wearing work. I'm not obviously he had given up his powers, But it's just funny how angry people were ready to get, right? So the Man of Steel 2 was and its many iterations was what you missed the most, Isaiah.
Yes. Oh, I completely forgot.
I think that's where we started. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how, you know how it is. You listen to the show, you know how we get.
And and I mean, they were even supposed to have like Brainiac coming in.
Well, there's supposed to be Superman Returns 2 with Brainiac. And that's what I would have liked that.
That would have been so cool.
Jude Law was going to be Brainiac. It was going to be like Crystalline. It was going to be so awesome. But then he would like possess Jason and Superman had to kill his son. I'm like, I don't know about that. All these Superman stories, they sound so cool. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know about that part. Or it's like, oh, yeah, Darkseid takes over the Earth. I'm like, okay. And the Superman turns evil and kills everyone. I'm like, oh, I don't know about that part. So, why is he back in the red and blue in the future, Zack Snyder? Doesn't make any sense. He's still evil. I saw a funny tweet. It was like, it's like Zack Snyder has convinced people that like Superman only wears black or something. It's like, you guys don't get it. It's red and blue, man. And that's not even the real Death Superman suit. So, oh man, I don't know. Chris, what about you, man? What are you most disappointed about being canceled?
Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
In whatever form would it taken, you just want another adventure in the Man of Steel Superman, being the star.
Yeah, I want to see Henry Cavill get the chance to be Superman, like save people on a regular basis. Juggle life as Clark Kent. And like that was some of my favorite parts of Batman v Superman is when they had Clark Kent doing investigative journalism in the extended edition.
The Ultimate Edition, yes.
Sorry.
Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
Directed by Zack Snyder.
I hate that everyone tries to do a new take and make him dark or make him edgy or make him relatable. Like he's the most relatable. The episode one of not the best episodes of Smallville, but the season 10 episode where Lois gets his powers and learns what he
That's
has
a terrible
to
episode,
do
Chris.
on a database. No, I that was my point. I'm trying to say it nicely. But I love that they give you a taste of what he actually
I do that with a bomb. And to suspend my disbelief. No, I get what you're saying. Like she understood the burden he had with his powers.
Yes, and we see that on a daily basis. He picks who to save. He has to choose who to save. He has to choose when to like relax, I guess, or not. That all that kind of stuff. How to do Superman stuff on a daily basis and not reveal your identity at every turn. Like the stuff that we enjoyed seeing on TV shows like Lois and Clark and Smallville and stuff like that. That's what I want to see. I want to see a Superman movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because one of the few things I like from Justice League is that Henry Cavill was able to embody maybe an older iteration of Superman in terms of that classic attitude of, I'm a fan of truth, but also a big fan of justice. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's a super corny line, but a part of me is also like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I get. I'm torn because I'm like, that's kind of because remember last Superman that came out, we're like, we like Superman better than this finally, right?
But yeah, but we're supposed to hate everything that Joss Whedon never did, so we can't like it.
It's tough. I know, right?
But no, to your point, both of y'all's point, like that's what should have happened after Man of Steel, because Man of Steel, like it sets 100%. The tone. But then if at the end of that movie, when Lois is like, welcome to the planet, right? The very next thing we see him in should not have been him, trying to, fight Batman. It should have been all the things that you were saying. He's like, he just literally just got welcome to the planet. All right. So let's see him interact with the planet. The second movie should have been Superman Peace on Earth. If you've read that book, that's what the second one should have been.
Or if you even take what they wanted to do with Batman v Superman and bring Batman into it, split that up into 2 movies. Split Batman v Superman 2 movies. Have a Superman movie where he's doing these things. Like he could be even be investigating the Batman. They could be doing their things in conjunction and have the build-up be to their final thing, but have him also battling who he is on Earth. What should he do? What he shouldn't do? All of that stuff, which didn't get paid off because they didn't spend enough time with it. They had this conflict, and then you had to look at Batman. You had to Lex and Doomsday, and it was just all too much. If you draw it out, have a movie where it's Superman 2, Man of Steel 2, and you could have Batman be in it and have that grow up. And then your third movie is that climax confrontation, and a lot of that all pay off. It could pay off him dying to Doomsday. It could pay off maybe why he and Batman might have motivations to actually fight each other. if they really were stuck on this is what we need to do and had to go that route, stretching it out would have been better. But like we've all talked about, they rushed. They wanted to put all this out there. They thought this is what everybody would want to see. This is going to buy us Justice League and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And I would have been interested in seeing Henry Cavill's interpretation of that dichotomy between Clark Kent and Superman. Like I don't think he needed to go full Christopher Reeve of, oh geez, Lois, I don't know. My toe is a little stubbed. I don't know if you need to go all the way.
That was
to
good.
That
was good. Yeah.
It was
Very good.
But at the same time, yeah. In BVS, I know you were talking about you liked the journalism plot points, but it was also like at no point did he not look like Superman wearing glasses.
Thank you. He was just hello, Perry White, why aren't we covering this? Like, dude,
yes.
Can you
I'm
try?
like, dude is bursting out of his suit. Like,
do you know how many times people are like on like a subway or something next to a celebrity and have no idea? Like,
they see these people every day, Chris.
Plastered. You have this face plastered everywhere. I don't know. I used to be like that all the time. I used to be like that too. Like, it's not different enough and thing, but
that's it. Look, I love Tyrell Hoechlin now on Superman Lois. So that's a huge problem I have with that interpretation. It's like, bro, what is the difference between when did we lose this? Like, this secret identities are important, all right? And at least you got to try. If you're not going to wear a mask, you got to try to differentiate yourself.
Yeah,
I guess the joke when Superman Lois takes off his glasses, I'm like, is there something supposed to be different about you right now?
The only time when he was like, I thought they were going to do more of him being a goofy dad, but they only do that a couple of times
when he's around the football team. That's it.
Yeah, like Goofy Dad, him was like a nice update to like bumbling Clark, because I thought that was fun because like everybody can kind of relate to that and understands what that means, but they don't really do that a whole lot.
No, even like they'll have him be Clark Kent and then Superman in front of like soldiers and people he's never met and stuff. And there's, like you said, there's no difference.
And it's okay in Man of Steel because he hasn't created that identity yet. Fine.
Exactly, yeah.
But like once you get to Metropolis and you're working at the planet, you got to be a little change your hair. I mean, actually, they did change his hair. His hair looked, it's the same thing as the Lois and Clark problem. It's like Superman has really bad looking hair, like the greased back hair, and Clark has the cool hair.
What you should have had him do is since you wanted to make him so you don't want to change Henry Cavill or whatever to show him on screen, do what Superman used to do like in the early John Byrne stuff where like when he's in public and you're seeing him, he like moved his face like fast enough. You
like the Flash. Remember the early seasons of the Flash?
Blurry, a good picture of him. He's not appearing anywhere. He's just doing his thing in the background. Or
you have I don't know if they've ever done this in the comics. I mean, actually, I think they did do it with Matrix, Supergirl, and Death of Superman, where like Superman, quote unquote, rescues Clark Kent. Like, well, I was trapped under this trouble. Your boy Martian Manhunter, who's in everything now, have him show up. I'm like, hello, Mr. Kent. Oh, we look alike. Isn't that fun? You got to lean into it, laugh it off. How many times have Arrow done the whole like, I am the Green Arrow thing, right? And they disprove it, bring in the human target. Like how many times has Arrow pulled that stuff?
They did Clark that in Lois and Clark too.
Oh, with the hologram that time, yeah, because Martha Kent, hologram expert. This is the 90s. They didn't understand computers. So it was cute.
But the thing is, if you're not going to do any of that stuff, like changing the posture goes a long way. Right? Yeah. Like we've all seen that Christopher Reeve clip where he literally transforms himself. It's amazing. But even something as simple as just like having just a slight little bit of a hunch, maybe limping or something, doing something, right? I think in All-Star Superman they do a good job of that, like where Clark kind of makes himself sweat a little bit and he's hunched over, and then his posture improves when he's Superman. I was like, doing even that subtle little thing would make all the difference.
Yeah. Well, two votes for Man of Steel 2. Lance, what are you disappointed about being canceled of this whole slate?
I will not say Man of Steel 2 because they did. But I will say the Batman Beyond movie.
Yes, correct. That is the correct answer.
Because, and Zach, you know this.
I want to see Man of Steel 2 as well. But you guys know this.
Yeah. But you know the answer to this question, Zach. But like, how long have I been saying that they should have just done it, right? And like, how long have I been saying that? For forever, right? Yeah. First got wind
since 1999.
Basically.
When we found out that The Rock was Black Adam.
Yeah, that's when The Rock was when Batman Beyond premiered. That's when The Rock was first cast as Black Adam.
But no, like when we found out that like the stuff about the Flash, And all the talk of after that was, oh man, this is so great that this now after this they can make a Batman Beyond movie. And my take was, why are they waiting? Why don't they just do the thing? And it's again, this is another part of the DC's problem. That's a layup, right? This is a steal, fast break. This is a layup. But instead they stop on the key, try to shoot a three like they're Steph Curry, and they miss the entire basket. That's exactly what they just did with that. Like, it was the easiest thing in the world to do a Batman Beyond movie. Like, they would be printing money if they would have done that, but instead they didn't. Right? Batman's their most bankable character, right? And everybody knows Batman Beyond. Everybody loves Batman Beyond. The stories are there.
I don't think everybody knows Batman Beyond, but that's the power of it. Like, oh, this is a cool new Batman, like, because how played out is Batman at this point? As much as we love Batman, right? Oh, as great as the Batman was, we're getting exhausted. But like, here's a bold new take on Batman, and that's what they could have presented with this.
And the people like us would have gone to the theaters in droves, and all the people who were like, who were not into this like us was like, oh, this is actually new. It's
Michael Keaton. I loved him as Batman in the 90s. Yeah.
Why can't you do a new take on Batman after you've had 18 origin stories, but you have to do a new take on Superman every time when you've only had one real origin story before?
Also a great question. But yeah, it's just like that, again, Batman Beyond was a layup, like a wide open layup, and they blew it. So there's no excuse for that.
Well, the only obstacle was Michael Keaton really going to want to come back and do this? And he'd said that if Tim Burton did it, he'd do anything because he loves working with Tim Burton, right? And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see. Maybe one day that'll happen. No, okay, they get Michael Keaton. So then if you have Michael Keaton, then you go do whatever you possibly can with him. Like a Batgirl movie or a Aquaman scene, and let's cut and delete them all. That was okay. They canceled the Batgirl movie. That is frustrating because they filmed the movie and they just threw it away. J.K. Simmons, right? Leslie Grace, right? All people you want to see in these characters. It was exciting. Brendan Fraser, again, pushing all the wrong buttons. Brendan Fraser is part of a renaissance right now, and they had a movie where he was a villain, and they just threw it away. They literally threw it away. We're never going to see it.
Every wrong move they could have made, they made.
But my only concern about the Batgirl movie was that would have been like, oh, okay, well, we did sort of Batman Beyond now with that, and now we don't need to do it. That would have been my only concern. You know what I'm saying? Because like old Batman, young Bat person.
Look, I hear what you're saying, but like, like a lot of the stuff we heard about that was just like, well, it wasn't up to the standards, and like, which is why we had to cut it. It's like, so everything else that like came out before it was? Are you kidding? Like, you're like. I mean, just imagine if they would have done this with anything else. If they would have done to Batgirl what they did to if they would have done to Batgirl what they didn't do to other films.
Well, here's a hot take, Lance. They should take it. They should can't. I'm serious. They should cancel the next 4 movies.
I agree with you.
Take their tax write-off, right? Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, Blue Beetle, and The Flash, the beloved The Flash movie. Seriously, cancel them. Put them in the can, get your tax write-off for hundreds of millions of dollars, and start fresh. As radical as that is, if that's what we're going to do, let's do it. Let's go all in. All this half and half stuff causes confusion, and that's what at this point, I think that's their safest bet, because then it's a hard line in the sand. Because for the next 2 years, we're going to be like, what? I've
been saying shut it down for years.
Well, now it's time to shut it down.
Oh, now it's time. Oh, yeah.
I thought we're going to get Man of Steel 2 with Black Adam like a month ago. All right. Superman Shazam, The Return of Black Adam in live action. So excited.
Been amazing. Oh, man.
If only The Rock would have had pointed ears and hair, because he looks so much like Black Adam to begin with. The Rock and pointed ears like Tom Welling and glasses. Like, I'm not doing that. It's dumb. I don't know. But no, people probably say you're crazy. I'm like, think about how much marketing money they're going to, hundreds of millions of dollars they're going to pour into these movies to market them, right?
Yeah.
For what? And then their budgets are so big. By the time they're not going to make their money back, and they're going to be another situation. Oh, so I did want to talk about this. The Suicide Squad. All right. How much money did that make? How many people loved the Suicide Squad? Yes, it was better than Suicide Squad, but that's a low bar because the original Suicide Squad is one of the worst films I've ever seen. So
he also just made basically the same movie. He just switched out Deadshot for Bloodsport.
Right. To the point where they were just going to recast with Idris Elba, and they're like, well, we'll just change his name in the script. No one can tell. The main thing is having the daughter. I was like, come on, y'all. You can't do that. You can't do that. Anyway. So James Gunn, I love Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That's great. not really into his whole shtick on other stuff. So if you give me the choice of Zack Snyder in charge of everything or James Gunn in charge of everything, I will pick Zack Snyder all day, every day, because I prefer like that kind of like, yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's no question.
I guess I'm just of the opinion we got that. We see how that turned out.
Well, we got like, well, yeah, but okay. I know that everything wasn't perfect. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but I really liked Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they could have.
Remember, Batgirl did not.
Well, let's see that too, but that has nothing to do with I'm talking about they're making, it's like you said, they're making the same exact mistake, but people are all happy about it for some reason. That you should look, first of all, you should never put a director in charge of your cinematic universe. You need a producer. Kevin Feige is in charge of Marvel. He's a producer. He might direct something at some point. They always talk about it, but he's like, I'm kind of busy. You need a shepherd, a steady hand to kind of guide everything, an executive producer of your TV show movie universe, right? If you will.
Like part of my team strategy.
There you go. That's right. Remember the Titans. You're a Hall of Famer in my book, Coach. So but people are like, oh yeah. Well, the problem was they gave the control to Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, who had made Watchmen, which is fantastic. Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman made, $1.5 billion with 2 movies. I'm just saying. All right. So then, but now we give complete control to James Gunn, who made the Suicide Squad and made like $200 million worldwide. I'm like, okay.
That's not why they hired him. They hired him because he did Guardians. Let's get that fact.
I get that, but it's the same.
We stole him
problem
from Marvel.
Yeah. Well,
how was that worked out?
Remember when
the Suicide Squad?
Remember when they took Bryan Singer from the X-Men? Right? It's just they're doing the same thing over and over again. So
it's kind of the same guy too.
Yeah, they're problematic. Just saying, Zack Snyder is probably the least problematic dude that has directed these movies. All right? I'm just saying.
That's fair enough.
Seems like a good guy. Who knows what really goes on in these people's lives? I'm just saying he's not involved in those kind of controversies that we've seen with a lot of these people. That's all. Right. That's all there is there.
That's very true.
So no, I would absolutely pick Zack Snyder to keep going with stuff because I would love to see Wonder Woman in more Justice League movies. I think she's fantastic in those. We have, you mentioned the casting, right? Is it the Snyder extremely hit or miss with casting? Henry Cavill, great. Ben Affleck, great. Gal Gadot, great. Jason Momoa, not how I would have picked as Aquaman, but they went for the more like, Peter David, Conan the Barbarian Aquaman. Sure. Right.
Isn't that more in line with the DCEU version of Aquaman?
Well, the second DCEU version, in the Superman the Animated Series episode, it was not that way. But not Kyle Rayner. Where'd you go? But anyway, that's its own conversation. Superman the Animated. Which Flash was that? Was that Barry Allen in the in the Superman the Animated Series? But then you get your Jesse Eisenbergs and your
Ezra
Miller, Amber Heard. Huh? I mean,
yeah. That's a strike 3. You're out.
Yeah. I mean, he cast all them too. So that's where we are. I don't know. It's rough. It's rough. But I just we're doing, they had a plan too back in 2013. All the things they're saying now, that was the plan then. Remember the slate? Remember when the Green Lantern Corps was supposed to come out in 2018? Everybody remember that one, right? The Flash, Cyborg, Justice League Part 2.
How's that Green Lantern show working out?
That Green Lantern show, I swear to God, that has caused so much trouble. Obviously, it's going to be canceled, I assume, like everything else here, right? So that show has prevented us from getting Green Lantern in the Zack Snyder Justice League and John Diggle from becoming the continuing to become the Green Lantern in the Arrowverse. A show that never existed. So maybe someone can make a phone call in the Flash series finale. He can change his mind again and get the ring back and become Jon Stewart.
Oh, he yelled into the void that I don't want it.
He doesn't want it. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, hey, Clark Kent on Tom Welling's Clark Kent. He was at least Superman for 10 years before he went with his family. Okay. Jon Stewart, do your time. It's Green Lantern. Anyway. Now, I guess for me though, that we're talking all around here, but Batman Beyond for me obviously would be the most disappointing thing that got canceled because it was who knows if that was actually going to happen or not. Everything is rumors right now, but the fact that we've been talking about that forever, and if you're going to do live action Batman Beyond, you need a Batman who existed before for it to matter. I think, unless it's Clint Eastwood, that's my one exception, but he's too old for it now. Even that, I think, not that I don't know if he would do that.
Gran Torino.
look, you get Clint Eastwood as old Bruce Wayne, and they get Scott Eastwood to play flashback Batman because they look exactly the same. It would be amazing. There's still time. So doesn't he do all his movies with WB? Like, can we make this happen, please, before he dies?
That was the answer, because they're not going to do it.
But let's get Michael Keaton, right? George Clooney. I mean, everybody loves George Clooney. You don't want to tie back in his Batman. You just as great as George Clooney is and all his other stuff, and he is a real life Bruce Wayne. You don't want to remember people. You don't want to remind people of Batman and Robin. Val Kilmer, Batman Forever. I love it, but not everybody does, and he's had this health issues. Fortunately, he's on the mend right now. So I guess theoretically you could do Batman Beyond with Val Kilmer if you really wanted to, but the Michael Keaton draw is the key. And it was right. We're so close to greatness. It was right there. And I can't believe it. So I don't know. So I don't even know he would cast Terry McGinnis anymore. 10 years ago, we were talking about this. It was Pete Petrilli from Heroes. 15 years ago, we were talking about this. And the guy, that guy from Gilmore Girls? He'd be a great Terry McGinnis.
Jack Pearson now?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I don't think he could do that now.
Dylan O'Brien. I don't know. Wasn't he in a movie with Michael Keaton as like his protege or something?
Maybe.
That movie called? Might be called Protege. I don't even know. But it's like Michael Keaton, like in a control room with a headset. He's yelling at Dylan O'Brien.
Throw him with Tom Holland.
Tom Holland is in a movie with Michael Keaton? Oh, you mean Tom Holland is Terry McGinnis?
I'm joking.
I don't know. Terry McGinnis. So it's funny because you look at Batman Beyond, and it's like you could make Terry McGinnis like Asian, like half Asian, maybe something,
Definitely, yeah.
But then his last name is McGinnis.
Would be my pick, but
his last name is McGinnis.
You could always explain it. It's Neo Gotham. It's the future.
I was about to say it's the future. Everyone's mingled, Well,
I guess the thing is, whoever they cast as parents, let's make one of them Asian, please. We don't want a Smallville situation where it's like Kirsten Kirk, who are your parents? So because you look at Batman Beyond, like his dad is some Irish dude with mustache, and his mom is just white lady. It's like, okay, well, you're not, but we still got. I mean, Dana is Asian, right? So like, and they looked, the way they drew, like you'd be like, oh, okay, I could see that. I'm just saying, like, whatever race is fine. Recast whoever Terry McGinnis is, Black, Asian, sure. I think that's great for next generation Batman. Absolutely, that'd be great. So there's another opportunity for diversity right there, and you're just throwing it away, WB. You're just throwing it away, and to have another Superman now, Superman, I don't think race changing Superman gives you anything.
Oh, so not down with that Ta-Nehisi Coates and the JJ
Abrams.
No, I am not. As if he's going to be Clark Kent, I don't think so. What do you think, Isaiah?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I gotta agree with Zach. I gotta betray the culture this time. No, at least not a reboot of Clark Kent.
I don't think it's portraying the culture, because I think if that Superman project they're working on is Val Zod, or it's a code
yeah.
for Icon, then cool. Go
Absolutely.
Do it, right? But if they're just gonna make Clark Kent a brother, we have characters that we could use, right?
Thank you. Okay. I have to use this opportunity to stand on a mini soapbox right now and just vent for a second. I am very much against typically race-changing characters from comics. There have been a few exceptions, like Jeffrey Wright, for example. I think, at least to me, I think he's the best Gordon we've gotten. I think he's better than Gary Oldman.
If he gets one more movie, he's going to surpass Gary Oldman. That's the only thing holding it back. Is just he has a movie. But I think Jeffrey Wright's fantastic. Yeah,
fair enough. But yeah, I'm not for race-changing characters, and I'll break it down why. Because ultimately, I think it's just lazy and unoriginal. And there have been too many examples where we've been shown that it's possible to create original characters who are Black or another race. Like, for example, making Peter Parker Black. Like, if we were just to reboot Spider-Man and made Peter Parker Black, then why would we need Miles? Or if we were to make Peter Parker Hispanic, why would we need Miguel? Or even to take it with DC, if we made Hal Jordan Black, why would we need Jon Stewart? Or make him Asian? Why would we need Kyle Rayner? Or make him, Middle Eastern?
Wait, is Kyle Rayner Asian now?
He's always been.
I thought he was Asian.
Is he Asian?
He's half Asian.
I've always read him as Asian.
Yeah, I think he's half Asian.
I mean, I haven't read that many Green Lantern comics. I just know Superman the animated series. But I guess he was kind of Hal Jordan with a different name in animated. Is that okay? Wow, we whitewashed Kyle Rayner, Superman the animated series. I had no idea.
Yeah. No, Isaiah.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, Isaiah, to your point. No, I agree with you. And from me, I come from the place of, too often that, like, some people complain that, like, there's not like enough, heroes of color that are out there and everything. I was like, well, for the people that say that, a lot of them say that not knowing that we do have those characters out there.
Exactly.
The problem is we don't give them their shine because they do what you're talking about instead of giving us a Jon Stewart, instead of giving us an Icon, instead of giving us a Vixen, instead of giving us a John Henry Irons, instead of giving us Black Lightning, Thunder, and Lightning, like, instead of giving us those characters, right, or Katana, or Kyle Rayner, or Miguel, I could go on and on with all these different characters of color and genders and sexualities. They're out there, right?
Yeah.
But people don't know them because they don't give them their shine, and instead they do the opposite, and I think that does a disservice.
Very much so. Very much.
Yeah, and I, as a white guy, well, what can I add to this conversation other than I agree? but I think a Green Lantern Corps is the perfect way to diversify like that. Like Simon Baz.
Yes,
I loved his story. I was like, a brand new Green Lantern Muslim. That's interesting, right?
Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz,
yeah,
and Jon Stewart, like those characters in the Green Lantern show, but it wasn't, right? So that's also part of the problem as well.
Well, but I guess my point is, like, okay, you can diversify there, but like Superman should just be Clark Kent, right? And then he could stand next to if you have your kids playing with your action figures, you want to have like, oh look, they're all interacting right together, like Miles Morales and Peter Parker, and they can be like team up instead of like, I have black Clark Kent and white Clark Kent, and we're going to team up and fight dudes. That doesn't. That's just strange. And then you have to choose, and it's an argument like, well, why don't you like black Clark Kent? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's just, it creates such because we're always going to argue about who's your favorite so and so. And I don't know. I guess it's always been that way. Like, it used to be fun, but now it's gotten complicated to be like, what do you mean? You don't like Henry Cavill as Superman or something like that, right? It's like there's so much like attached to your preferences in pop culture now. Like, it's like, oh, you don't like The Last Jedi? You're a horrible human being. Like, so it's just like, really? You think that? It's just strange where we've gone. And so what do you think about Black Harvey Dent, though, Isaiah?
See, and so that's the thing. Like,
he's like a Jim Gordon being like, oh, okay,
exactly. There are certain examples where, like, okay, it's worked out. So even, to borrow from the Batman again, I think Zoe Kravitz was a good Catwoman.
Yeah.
So I think there are certain examples where it works.
Remember, Catwoman was black in the 60s. Also, remember that.
That's true. Catwoman was black in the 1960s. Yeah. And in Batman Year One. So there's a
precedent.
Hello, Halle Berry, my favorite Catwoman. Not my favorite. Just saying. Probably my favorite actress play Catwoman.
Yeah,
though.
I mean, I think it all depends, and maybe it also boils down to the impact or popularity of the character. Maybe I'm not explaining it well, but I think to a certain extent, like, no one is going to ever view Gordon as popular or as important as Batman, and so recasting Gordon is never going to be, the same backlash that you would get as if you were to recast Bruce Wayne as someone else. Like, even with as terrible as it was, but like Fan Four Stick, for example, making Johnny Storm black. As many problems as that movie has, I don't actually think Michael B. Jordan's Johnny Storm was one of them, at least personally.
Yeah, well, the dad was the best part of the movie.
Exactly.
Johnny, you got to get your life together, man. You out there racing cars, man.
As another white person in the group chiming in with, I can't argue the thing, and I don't want to. I think that I don't think you could put a yes or no on it. I don't think it's black and white. No pun intended.
Look at that. I think
you got to look at the reason you're doing the choices that you're making, and the why and how of it to decide if it's something that should stick to comic accurate history or change for diversity reasons or whatever the case may be. I don't think you can just say yes or no to it. I think it's got to depend on the situation.
Well, it's interesting with Two-Face. Okay, so Chris, at Batman the Animated Series, is Two-Face black? What do you think? As a white person, did you think Two-Face is black? We'll ask you guys to say. Just from our perspective, I saw Harvey Dent as a man of color in Batman the Animated Series. Did you, Chris?
I don't remember. I mean,
Chris
like
doesn't see color. So
I
breaking barriers.
That's the right answer.
I really don't remember. I haven't seen Batman the Animated Series in a long time, and I did watch it as a kid and I loved it, but I just don't. I don't remember.
Well, I think coming off of like, because those spun out of the Burton movies, I'm like, well, it's Harvey, Billy D. Williams is Harvey Dent. So like, I think that's
That
how
I
I was like,
remember.
oh, he's that Harvey Dent sort of, and that's kind of. Did Lance? Did you guys see it that way, Lance, Isaiah?
For Harvey, I didn't see him as black, but I did see him as something else that was
Not white.
Maybe
not white.
he had a solid tan to him.
He was swarthy.
Yeah.
Okay,
He was a
I'm
little
looking it up.
mix. But
you're looking it up.
Yeah,
What does
but-
the internet tell us? And
No,
Lance and I
that's
have talked.
I'm looking to see what he looked like.
Okay, Lance and I have talked about this for several years. Lex Luthor in Superman the Animated Series.
That was a brother, man. Come on.
Yeah, I thought so
he's
too.
talking like a brother. I'm not gonna lie.
Clancy Brown is white.
Yeah, the voice is white, but like all of his mannerisms, the way he acted, like that was basically like the equivalent of Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin.
Oh
yeah.
man, that Michael Clark Duncan would have been fantastic Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
No, really, he was saying the Kingpin is so Lex Luthor. He is more Lex Luthor than the movie Lex Luthor's in Daredevil. Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah.
Somebody always does.
It's just business.
Also, would have loved to see him as Bane. Right? So something like that. Like if you, it's like I'll use a Star Trek. Like I don't know how we got on this like recasting races and stuff, but this is a fun conversation now. So like with Star Trek, right? Ricardo Montalban, who is Mexican, played Khan Noonien Singh on Star Trek, who was like supposed to be Indian. But like it's the 60s and like it gave a person of color an opportunity, and he's like the most iconic Star Trek villain of all time, right? And then like, oh, we're gonna reboot Star Trek in the 2000s, in the progressive 2000s. We're gonna reboot Star Trek. I know who will cast as Khan Noonien Singh. We'll cast Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm like, what are you doing? Like that? Talk about whitewashing. Like Benicio del Toro or the guy from Lost, whose name escapes me because I never watched the show, but like there were so many opportunities, like to cast a person of color there as Khan, right?
Yeah.
But I think honestly, part of the thinking was we can't have a person of color like being a terrorist, like because Khan, like he's blowing up buildings and stuff, and in Star Trek, and that might have been a reason. They even there's a tie-in, I'm pointing at it because it's over there on my shelf. There's a tie-in comic book that like explains that they did facial reconstructive surgery to hide his appearance. I'm like, come on, that was not you guys. That is written after the movie to respond to the backlash. But I think that's ridiculous. That I guess my point there is like, if you want to give and I'm not saying like, okay, there's white and not white, right? But I'm saying like, if you're going to take away like a role from a person of color, it's less bad to give it to another minority than just cast a white dude. Like, is that a fair statement to make?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I think part of the it's kind of what you were alluding to. It also, you have to delve into the psychology and like reasons behind it, because like on-screen portrayals of people of color is important, and I think especially in today's day and age, you want to treat it with such delicacy, for better or for worse. So like even
but also respect, like not just delicacy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a better word. So like even to reference, y'all's discussion from Iron Man 3, like the treatment of the Mandarin, for example, I think they made the best of a sensitive situation with the Mandarin, but even in referencing it, in Shang-Chi, when he was like, and they took my name that meant, that was so important, and they named it after an orange. I was like, yo, that is like, oh, that's interesting, so I think the psychology is just as important, for how we portray the characters as opposed to just, also representation. So yeah, as Chris said, it's not a yes or no. It's very, very much shades of gray, very nuanced.
And I guess it spun out of us talking about the J.J. Abrams, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Superman, Clark Kent movie. And I think he said it was going to be Clark Kent. Last I heard, that's what the plan was with that particular one. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about our favorite soundbite about J.J. Abrams.
I've written a Spider-Man comic. Him and his son. Nepotism at its best. His clone son. So, I don't know, man. Yeah, you look at this slate, and there's so many possibilities. Like, my real answer, other than Batman Beyond, obviously, it would have been, and this is predates this, but like Ben Affleck's The Batman. I would have loved to see that, but we didn't see that with Deathstroke, with Flash Thompson Deathstroke, because Deathstroke's become one of my favorite characters thanks to Arrow. But that's so Mr. Queen. Oh yeah, kid.
Hey, kid. I always keep my promises. I'm not even gonna try.
But see, that's the other frustrating thing. I guess one potential positive, right? Because I think James Gunn has said, like, well, we're going to have continuity across movies, TV shows, animation, video games. I'm like, okay, does that mean we can stop like telling TV shows that they have to kill off and not use characters anymore because movies want to use them? Because that's frustrating about Arrow. Because like, oh, you made the Suicide Squad and Deathstroke popular. Thank you so much. Now you can't use them anymore because you're making movies. Like, seriously?
If there's going to be continuity, it means you're not going to get one of each. Like you're going to get one of each.
Unless you're Batman, apparently.
A Batman TV show and a Batman movie, because how would we know what they're talking about?
Erica Durance was in more than 13 episodes. I was confused, Chris. I thought she was.
How do we understand it?
I didn't understand.
And I think maybe that's part of the problem too when talking about, oh, we're gonna connect everything across all mediums. It's like you have no guarantee that there's going to be enough of the general audiences who are going to consume all those mediums.
Well, don't spend $300 million on a movie. Like Joker. I know, Lance, you hate Joker. Joker cost $50 million. It made $1 billion. Okay. Yeah. I understand you can't make a Green Lantern movie for $50 million, but you could maybe make it for $100 million instead of $350 million or whatever absurd. You know what I'm saying? Like exactly. That's the problem. I mean, I mentioned the Star Trek movies. That's why there's only 3 of them, because the budgets kept going up. Mm-hmm. And like, there's not, if you have a $200 million Star Trek movie and you do marketing for like another $150 million, you got to make $500-600 million back to make a profit. As much as I love Star Trek and much of a cultural pillar and icon it is, you're not going to get $600 million on a Star Trek movie. The reason there were 10 Star Trek movies in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, there you go, Chris. Like, it's because they were like, let's keep it around like $15 million, and we can maybe get like 85 if we're really lucky or something, right? And that's how you succeed. It's crazy to spend all this money on these things. You tell smaller, tighter stories, telling a Superman story with Metallo or something, and you have like a Terminator Metallo, and he's doing journalism, and Lex Luthor's there, and all, like that's what you do. You can make that for like $125 million maybe,
like
right?
Star Wars.
Like
Star Wars is doing.
Yeah, just make streaming shows and don't make movies anymore. That's what Star Wars is doing. It's working out great.
Patty Jenkins said she's still making her Rogue Squadron movie.
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen, Chris. I guarantee it. That's embarrassing for Lucas. I don't know. The thing is, Lucasfilm and Disney, they still are making Marvel and making lots of money and all that. But like the amount of movies that have been announced that have never happened. Like they made, remember that trailer for Rogue Squadron when she's like skating on the runway and talking about how important this movie is to her, and puts on her helmet and is going to go take off. Movie is not going to happen now. Crazy. So, oh man.
Yep.
So Talkville.
Yeah, you want to talk about Talkville some? We can. So that's the current state of the DCEU. It's insane how out of date all of our comments are. We were so excited about Henry Cavill being back for Superman like a month ago, and now it's like, I love all these podcasts are coming out now, and I'm like, it's all he's like, oh yeah, well, can't wait to see him. The baby's gonna fight Black Adam. Shazam 3 coming. I can't wait, and it's like useless.
Nope.
It's not like I recorded those back in May. That was like a month ago. We recorded those.
You thought you'd have a little bit longer of a buffer before something didn't happen.
Well, I had to wait until I was on Talkville to come out with season 8. Oh. To get look at that transition there. I had to get my bump from Tom Welling. So Talkville. So Isaiah, you listen to Talkville?
I do. Yeah. You know, I haven't.
The ultimate Smallville rewatch podcast.
That's what they would have you believe. Yeah.
Always hold on to Smallville.
That's what I could. Hey, it's great plugs for me.
For sure. That's the best thing that happened out of that, is you going on the show, them using the title of your show that they probably haven't realized is from their show. It's hilarious.
Next time I'm on there, I think I'm going to tell them. If all goes well, I should be back on the show. And I'm like, hey, you guys know that I actually took that from your show.
Michael's gonna be like, what? Get out of here. No way.
It's a gift.
He was even there for it.
Come on. GIF.
He was even back for that.
It's a frequent GIF on Twitter. You can go find it. So yeah, no, Talkville is anyone watch the year in review show on Talkville? Chris, have you?
Not yet.
Isaiah, have you?
No, and I was going to because I'm like, this is a professional thing. I should be prepared, but but I definitely didn't. Yeah.
Lance, have you?
I have only watched your episode.
Well, I'm actually in the best of year in review.
Yeah, but I saw your episode already.
Yeah, but it's
new. Have you watched it, Zach?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Look, there's some good. I think I know a lot of people were. It's funny. I saw some comments where people like, "We've already seen that." You guys, I'm like, okay. They didn't just post an old episode. They re-edited a lot of things together, and they had like a montage of people talking about certain things. I really liked it. I was wondering whether they were going to do in between seasons, and they're going to do little things like this because they did some clever editing. They there's like a stream of Rosenbaum, like there's like 6 or 7 to him, like, you got to suspend disbelief, and there's like he says it like 6 or 7 times, and that's pretty fun. And they cut together all like when they have the guests on and what the comments they were making about certain things. And so, yeah, I mean, if you've seen the show, you've seen all those pieces, but the way it's all put together is a pretty cool, streamlined kind of recap of the first season. So I enjoyed it, and I think that's cool that they're doing those sorts of things. I also think it's pretty cool they did the 2-parter for Tempest. It's almost like every episode should be 2 parts at this point. It's like, maybe I know our podcasts are way too long. I'm not saying they should be as long as ours, but like maybe instead of 45 minutes, it's 90 minutes and you cover everything and you can talk to John Glover for like 30 minutes. So I thought that was really smart that they did that. And I think they're pretty open. They sent out to all the patrons, the higher level patrons, at least they sent out like, hey, give us some feedback. And, maybe we want to change and evolve things. And I know, like, Chris, you're a top level patron like myself on Talkville. And so I think they're asking honest questions about how to improve, and I'm looking forward to seeing what adjustments they make. Even because it was a little rough when they first started, and even they know that, and I think they've kind of more settled into like a pattern now, and doesn't feel so slapdash of like, oh, Kristen Kirk's calling in. That was to me that was the weirdest episode.
She called in for 2 minutes.
She was, let's be fair, she was there for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
But that was the first guest they had, and I'm sure they're, trying to work it all out. So I think I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, like as they go further, like can you imagine them talking about like season 4? Or
okay, so yeah, that's the other thing that I want to ask all of you. Like, all right, real talk, of the realist of talk. Do we think they're going to season 10?
No.
Yeah, neither do I. Just for the record, I don't think they're making it to season 10.
What do you think, Chris?
I think they
look at him trying to be diplomatic. He's trying to think.
No, but I'm trying to think,
because they're going to see this
right now. Right now, their bread and butter outside of Tom Welling pretty much is Comic-Cons and fan interaction, something. And I don't think they'd be able to live down not doing 10. I mean, they'd get asked every convention they go to.
I think they're going to do it.
Take. Well, if that's the case, then I need to start like hitting up Kevin Smith. When's part 3 of
the Widening Gyre or Cacophony or whatever? Yeah,
Cacophony and Widening Gyre part 3 coming out, bro.
Oh man, that's. I think. Did either of y'all listen to? I know last night did. Either of y'all listen to Fat Man on Batman back in the day? That was such a good podcast, and then it just kind of fizzled, and it's still going. It's like Fat Man Beyond now. Why did we stop listening to it, Lance? Did they stop putting them out regularly, or?
I think we started podcasting is what happened.
That's what happens, Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
It's like this. It really. This is the most conceited thing to say, but it's like, when you talk about actors and like, hey, do you watch this show? I'm like, no, I'm on a TV show. I don't have time for this. Like, you podcast all the time. You don't have time to listen to podcasts. So that's about the time we started, and the time before time we started our stuff. That was a great podcast, though. We had so many great creatives on, and Batman.
He had all the heavy hitters on like really early, like Kevin Conroy was on early, Paul Dini, Grant Morrison.
It's fiction. Like, it's not real.
Yeah.
I love that interview with him talking about people complaining about Superman. It's not real. What did I bring that up? Why did I bring up Fat Man on Batman, Lance?
Talkville.
Because you were like, so we started listening to Fat Man on Batman, and Kevin Smith starts talking like, oh yeah, we're the Batman comic, and I hadn't heard of it, and so we went out and we got Widening Gyre, which was a sequel to like Cacophony, and then The third one's going to be like Bataranadung or something, like it's some ridiculous pretentious word.
Yeah.
And he kept acting like, oh, it's coming soon. Like him and Walt Flanagan, we were watching Comic Book Man. We were so plugged into this stuff. Like that's the most I've ever been plugged into Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Like it's in that time period.
And then like it all capped off kind of like when we went and saw him live when he was here.
Yeah, we saw. Well, we met the Comic Book Man guys at Comic-Palooza, and then he was here, and then he was here. Kevin Smith, and saw his stand up and stuff, and it was fun. But I guess he's just given up.
Yeah, I guess so.
Writing. Like that was 10 years ago, not an exact, but literally 10 years ago. And I was like, good. I'm glad I just read these. I can't wait for the next installment. And he's off making Tusk and Yoger Hosers and whatever else he's doing.
And Schindler had me watch that movie. It's weird.
So Kevin Smith and Grant Morrison, like, they're very similar to me anyway, because like I love to hear them talk about stuff, but their actual work, I'm like, whatever. Like I know that's sacrilegious to like be whatever. Like, Grant Morrison's one of the Superman All-Star. I'm like, oh yeah, it's whatever. It's fine. Like Batman R.I.P. I don't know.
It's interesting. All-Star Superman at first I wasn't a fan of, and then as I got older, like I read it again, I was like, wait, this is great. Like I should read it again then. I don't know if it was just like I didn't get it the first time, or I don't know what headspace I was in, but like I didn't like it all that much the first time. I thought it was kind of overrated. And then the second time I read it, I was like, this is actually great.
Well, Mike, I don't know if I did read it because I think you were reading it in college and I read the issues. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And then the animated movie came out, and the day we watched it, Lance hit me in the face with a baseball. So I was kind of like not in the best state of mind. And then I was like, yeah, well, at least that was better than watching that movie. That's what I used to say. We're just playing catch, and he throws like 1,000 miles an hour in my face, and it just clipped off the top of the glove. And I was like, I guess it's like when you get hit by a car or something, like you don't know what's about to happen. So it's like you're waiting there, and then I just feel like someone shot me in the face, and I'm on the ground, and I thought I thought it was gonna be Deathstroke. I thought like, this is it. And then unfortunately, it was like right under my it didn't break anything, but it just swelled up, and it was like,
The best part about that, we had a third roommate who did not like. We played this game to see if he would notice that Zach had a black eye. Did not notice at all.
I didn't have to try that hard, to be fair. I would just like he'd come in, I'm like, hey, what's up? Not turn my face.
Yep. It was so funny.
Yeah, I don't think he ever found out.
Nope.
Yeah.
Now he did when he watches this.
He's not going to watch this.
I like how we said that at the same time.
Yeah. Well, if he's not going to, we should talk way more about that. If he's not, we have so many stories we could tell. So,
hey, buddy.
Yeah. Exactly. It's good times. But maybe I'll reread All-Star Superman at some point. But yeah, Famine on Batman. It was a good podcast at the time. I remember he interviewed Jeff Loeb, and they were talking to Jeff Loeb about like how his son died from cancer, and that's kind of how he like quit working on Smallville and Superman. I remember Kevin Smith was like, yeah, man, you got that going on. And somebody asked you, what would Superman do today? And it's like, who gives a shit? I just thought that was the funniest thing. Like, just, that's so Kevin Smith. Like, it's like, just, it's a horrible thing, but it's like you bring the comedy of reality. I'm like, yeah, like this is real life going on. And that was one of my favorite quotes. And I always remember that from Fat Man on Batman. It's like, who gives a shit about what would Superman do today? That was a good one. So if, I don't know, maybe we should go back and find that and listen to some of those. I remember Walt Flanagan, actually, he called out Dark Knight Rises. He was like, I don't know, like when the trailers were coming out, he was like, I don't know, man, it looks too big for Batman. Like nuclear bombs and war on the streets. Like, I don't know. Like he's the only person before that came out, like had any kind of red flag. Cause we were like, this is going to be the best superhero trilogy of all time. I can't wait. There's no way this is not going to be fantastic.
To his credit, remember, like in Kevin Smith's first story, he's talking about like how he met Walt. Walt told him, quote, you don't know shit about Batman. I do. So he was right.
Walt Flanagan. Either of you guys watch Comic Man, Chris or Isaiah, back in the day?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all like, well, AMC Plus, is that a thing? I've seen it around, but it's probably AMC? No. A&E? No.
It was AMC.
AMC, yeah.
Yeah, because it came
not the movie theater.
Yeah,
the channel.
It would come on
after Mad Men.
It would come on after Walking Dead, which came on after Mad Men.
The Talking Dead on after Comic Book Men. So
I got nothing against him. I just never was a big Kevin Smith fan, so I never really got into it.
Well, he's got the same kind of sense of humor James Gunn does. That doesn't appeal to me. So, like you show me that because I've of course seen the Justice League scene of Peacemaker. I'm like, yeah, Kevin Smith would probably make a joke like this.
Right.
Hilarious. Silhouette Superman back there. The
Still
Shazam
not as
thing
bad as the headless Superman in Shazam.
Well,
though.
see, no, that didn't. So that bothered you, the headless Superman?
A 1,000%, because it was so blatantly obvious. Like, okay, clearly they couldn't get Henry Cavill back.
But I felt like it fit the tone of that movie and that scene. Like outside of like, don't keep doing that. I'm like, oh, look at it, Superman, that's fun, right? And then you move on, and then it immediately ends. Because what more would have been added to him sitting down? Whoa, right?
I like that way better than not having him.
Right.
Because they talked about it.
He's like, hold it. And then he cuts to the thing. I'm like, that's a fun way to end that movie.
You know, with the expectation that we were going to see Henry again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I've soured now, not knowing that he's not coming back.
See, that's the key. When you know that, like, we're eventually going to get that, it's okay. Like on Smallville in season 8, when they kept teasing Lex, you're like, oh, well, of course he's going to come. Surely they wouldn't show us all these things if Lex wasn't coming back. And they're like, oh, wait, he's not? And then they have to blow up Darth Lex in a truck and then say that Michael Rosenbaum was something else in season 10 or something. Yeah, because when you know, it's like, what do you do? And that to tie back to the beginning is what the problem is with these next 4 DCE movies are. It's like, what are we doing here? You know, like, so I say do the tax write-off, shut it all down, because there's a whole movie with Michael Keaton as Batman we're never going to see now. And apparently they cut his Aquaman scenes and refilmed them with Ben Affleck, and we're also not going to see those.
Well, and then why, you're going to let all these other people come in the Flash movie, but apparently you cut Gal Gadot and
Henry Cavill. Yeah, what is that?
Why can't they?
It's like Ezra Miller is the star of the film.
You're not bringing him back,
and Ben Affleck is in it in a major capacity. It's a mess, y'all. So
pure chaos.
Anyway. But hey, go listen to Talkville and listen to our shows here. And so I don't know, that was fun. Kind of that was a fun tangents there, as we always do. So that was obviously the big news of the day. Like everyone's talking. It's funny. Somebody's like, "Are you going to podcast about this?" I was like, "No." I'm like, "Well, actually, we are going to have this roundtable about it." So hopefully, I'm sorry I forgot who tweeted me that, but hopefully this was what you were looking for from us. So yeah, there you go. At times like these that I truly always belong to Smallville, because like it's a crazy world out there, and I got my 10 seasons of my favorite show. I also got Superman, Chris Reeve movies, got my 90s Batman movies, got my John Wesley ship Flash over there.
You really got the trifecta.
Yeah, so Matt Truitt sent me that, and I finally put it up. I'm like, I'll just put it over there, and it's actually a perfect spot because it's out of the way. My wife doesn't see it.
That's the key.
People on the internet can see it. As long as, like, all my stuff can stay in here. All right, like that. Like, she's like, oh, as long as I don't have to see that in the house. I'm like, all right, it's staying right there. Superman 4. So
that's my shelf here too.
Yeah.
So my wife doesn't see it, so it's okay.
Is that the droid from Jedi Survivor? Or not Jedi Survivor, but
Fallen Order, yeah.
That's
BD1.
the Joker's droid.
BD1.
Yes, BD1.
Yeah.
He's like a backpack. It's cute.
Listen, if you're not going to play the games, at least go watch the cutscenes on YouTube. It's definitely worth it.
I don't know. Hey, if that kid might maybe want to go watch Gotham, give that another shot.
You should, by the way. Real plug there. Yeah.
So you like Gotham?
I'm not gonna lie, I was diehard into Gotham, to the point where, I don't know if you remember, but there was like a whole, like, Gotham was canceled at season 4, and there was a whole "Bring Back Gotham" campaign.
There was a campaign?
Yes. Of that.
Those people must be horrible people if they asked WB to continue something you wanted to see. You're part of. How dare you, sir?
I was front and center with.
How dare you ask a corporation to continue something you liked or promised? I don't know. Lance and I saw the finale. Watched the finale, and Isaiah, I know you're kind of new to the Patreon, but you can scroll back in there and find our
reaction.
Yeah.
I
don't think we liked it.
I don't think I liked it either. I will say this about Gotham: the costuming for some of those villains was on point.
Which villains?
Mr. Freeze, the Riddler suit at the end. I was like, okay. And I think Scarecrow as well. I was like, some of that stuff worked.
Jor-El is Scarecrow, or at least Scarecrow's dad.
Yeah.
Really insanes.
But that bat suit at the end was probably the worst thing I've ever seen.
Well,
At least he
also
put it on though. At least he put it on.
that was that him though. That was some CGI trickery. Like that
No,
was no.
I think it was him, and that's why it looks so bad, because it's clearly this skinny kid in what's supposed to be a suit for a much older guy.
That was not good.
It was awful though. Absolutely awful.
Also, you know what's worse? Jim Gordon's mustache for 2 scenes.
Oh yeah.
Why do you not have the full mustache? What's the problem, Ben McKenzie? You're still gonna Monica Barakin's still gonna marry you. All right. Gosh. Anyway.
I apologize, Zach. I looked it up. If you wanted to watch cutscenes for Fallen Order, you'd have to spend like 2 hours. So maybe not.
I'll just listen to you guys talk about it on Always on to Star Wars. So yeah, Lance and I watched the Gotham episode of the Joker episode of Gotham. I think that's where we stopped watching.
Oh, and one, yeah.
No, you watched. I came over to your place and we watched the mid-season finale.
Yeah.
I was like, now I'm done. And then you kept watching through the Joker episode.
I did.
But I don't know, Lance. We always on to Gotham. Maybe one day. Because that would be fun. Because the Joker's dad is Ace Ventura's landlord.
No.
Ventura.
Yes, Satan.
Animals scratching around. He also killed Ben Affleck's Daredevil's dad. Business. All it is. It's business. I don't know. But always on to Gotham. Maybe one day. I would definitely. That would be kind of fun.
It would be fun.
But I just don't want to be like a hate watch deal. Maybe there's things we'll like. I don't know. Maybe. The Mr. Freeze suit did look pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the problem is all that stuff happened before he was Batman.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, this stuff happened to Clark on Smallville for you. But Clark was like at least like an adultish age. Like Bruce Wayne's like 12 years old running around being chased by Mr. Freeze when he's 12 years. I mean, come on.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true.
Come on. And they recast Catwoman in the series finale, but nobody else. Also, those costumes in the series finale were terrible for Joker and not Joker, but actually Joker was actually not bad in the series finale. I didn't mind him. He was actually pretty good. I think my name's Jack. I don't know. But the Penguin and Riddler costumes in the series finale, not good. It's like somebody bought off the rack like Halloween costumes and stuffed a pillow in the Penguin's like chest, and he's walking around like this.
Yeah, I think Penguin was worse because they were trying to make him a size that he was just not.
Guys, people got so mad at me when I posted like, who's your favorite Riddler, right? Just on Twitter, right? Shocking people getting mad on Twitter. But I posted a picture of Jim Carrey, Frank Gorshin,
Paul Dano,
and Mr. Reese from The Dark Knight. And I'm like, hey, here are all the live action Riddlers. People got so mad at me that I didn't mention Gotham. Like people were mad at me and they were like, I guess there's a lot of baggage from people like people have been disrespected as Gotham fans for a long time and they just took it out on me, I guess. And it's fine. I can take it. But because I can take it because I'm a Dark Knight. But it was like, yikes, I didn't mean to upset all you people. It was just a joke. But that was totally Chris Nolan's Riddler, right? Oh, Matthew Broderick from The Dark Knight with the red hair. Yeah. That was totally the Riddler.
I guess so.
The guy looked just like Matthew Broderick. Also, Tiny Lester is totally Killer Croc. Prove me wrong. Yeah. The president of Earth. Hello. Anyway, prove me wrong. So, anyway, that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun on the level 33.1 here. The new 52, number 3. We're gonna have one more before the year's out, and I'm sure we'll have some different faces on here, and they'll have their takes about what's going on. But yeah, no, I enjoyed talking to you guys. Isaiah, thanks for being a part of it, man. You had some great takes and strong opinions, and looking forward to talking to you more about this kind of stuff, man.
Thank you.
All right. If people want to find you out there online, where can they find you if you want them to find you?
No, I'm a mystery like a bat. Nah. You can find me on Patreon, I guess. You know, Isaiah Goodridge there, meet with the Always Hold On to Smallville crew. I'm with I guess Mr. Mixis Pitalik, you know, where because something lost can always be found again.
Oh, look at that deep cut.
You know,
yeah.
We're looking for
Except for him, who never came back to the show. He was lost and never found again.
Never found again.
No.
So yeah,
probably for the best, because he was one of the worst interpretations of a character on Smallville.
100%.
Him and Deathstroke and Darkseid. And I think there's a Mount Rushmore, and I always forget who the fourth one should be, but we'll figure it out.
Doomsday.
I don't know.
No?
No, Werewolf Doomsday is cool, man. That Doomsday suit, he looked more like Doomsday than BVS Doomsday. I'm not wrong. Show me a picture of comic book Doomsday.
Listen, it wasn't a good. The confrontation wasn't good, but the adaptation was, or like the description of him.
Okay,
there you go. Well said, Chris.
I'll leave that. Yeah.
All right, Werewolf Doomsday. All about it. We're just gonna bury him down there on the earth. He'll come back. He'll come back later on. So let's never talk about him again. Chris, man, where can people find you out there?
Hey, you can find me on Always Hold On to Star Wars with Kevin Joey talking about everything Star Wars.
Cool. You guys coming back with non-Disney Plus show coverage soon. That journey through the canon really got derailed by all this new content. So
yeah, getting back into the already established stuff, and then we'll be bombarded again early next year with more Disney Plus stuff.
That's right. This is the way. And Lance, where can people find you?
I mean, at this point, people should know, right? But you can find me at Sir Lance Laster on all my social medias. You can find me on the Nerd Party talking sports movies on Training Montage. You can find us at Join Nerd Party, and you can find me on Always Hold On to Arrow. You can find us on Twitter at Do Not Fail Our Pod.
All right, Isaiah, who's your favorite show out of the three of us here? Who's your favorite podcast?
Oh, putting me on the spot. Wow.
There's one, sir. There's one.
Actually, it's Always Hold On to the MCU.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at a diplomatic answer. So obviously, Kev is your favorite Star Wars host other than Chris with that answer.
He's mine too, so.
All right, we'll get Kev on here sooner or later. You can geek out with him about some MCU stuff. So yeah, no, that's a fun one. I've really been enjoying that one, and we're gonna come back with a couple more Marvel one shots, Lance, before they're all done. Except for that Thor having a roommate stuff. Yeah. I guess we'll talk about those.
Gotta get to that.
Technically, they are canon.
Well, I mean, if Thor: Love and Thunder is canon, I mean, those might as well be canon, right? I haven't seen Thor: Love and Thunder, so full disclosure. But I mean,
Hey, you watched Wonder Woman 84. You got to watch Love and Thunder.
It's true.
I'm more of a DC guy. Okay.
Well, you're going to have to watch it anyway if you're doing Always Hold On to the MCU.
We'll see if we get there.
Will you get
about
there
5 years?
We'll get there, y'all.
Get there first, or will Talkville?
Well, look, hey, as long as you guys keep being on the Patreon, then we'll get there. Because we need your support to keep this podcast going. So
there it is.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Watching us, because we're on YouTube for these new level 33.1s, the new 52 versions. I guess talk about being out of date. It's like 2 reboots ago of comic books, the new 52. Yeah. But anyway, that's where my mind is. But we'll be back soon with more fun roundtable conversation. And until then, all together, y'all. Always hold on to Smallville. And Arrow and Star Wars and MCU.
Star Wars. MCU. Flash. Birds of Prey.
Heroes.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The Cape.
6 seasons on a movie. If you're watching this and you're not a member of the Patreon and you would like to be part of these conversations, go to patreon.com/alwaysmallville with one S. As for the podcast itself, you can find us on Facebook at Always Hold On to Smallville, and you can find us on Twitter at alwaysmallville with one S, and you can send us an email at alwaysmallville@gmail.com, once again with one S. And I encourage you all to listen to our flagship show, Always Hold On to Smallville, our first spinoff, Always Hold On to Arrow, our next spinoff, Always Hold On to Savannah Lois, and then, of course, Always Hold On to Star Wars. So we have our Always Hold On to family of podcasts. We have going here the ever-expanding multiverse of our podcasts. And so if you like the conversation here, check us out, podcast forum over there. No video for those. That's a whole nother format and venue we have going on over there. So there you have it. And we'll see you guys next time. And until then, always hold on to Smallville.